of law-abiding citizens in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, let's boil this down. You've got this Homeland Security head of the state, State Homeland Security Director James F. Powers, Jr., and you've got all these other individuals not wanting to release more information on exactly what's happening in the state. But bottom line, we know an Israeli company was out there spying on political groups across the board, and all of this needs to be released at least to the state committees, and I think there needs to be a criminal investigation.
I would agree, and I think the state police had testified that due to these bulletins that were being issued through the Pennsylvania Homeland Security, that they ended up chasing fires around, and that it was irresponsible reporting. That in fact this institute was not vetting the information that they were releasing properly. That they were very irresponsible in the way that they were releasing the information to local law enforcement around Pennsylvania, and just such a irresponsible way that they were trying to actually take care of what they were contracted for, when even the initial contract should have been under question, that they would actually contract someone that would start to launch these types of
well, number one, this is secret police activity and smacks of East Germany or Soviet Russia or Nazi Germany or Maoist China. But if it's going to be going on, it's one thing if it's the state police, because they're accountable to the legislature and they're from here. But when you find out then it's foreign groups doing it, and Israel's got this big history of espionage in the U.S., and the ADL and others caught infiltrating police departments in the past. Clearly, this is an infiltration operation, but the federal Homeland Security is fully infiltrated, so this seems to be par for the course. And now we have ABC News 4 and others out of Utah reporting that the Israeli art students have popped back up, asking about the NSA center being built in the area, in the neighborhoods around it, trying to get HUMAT on the ground. I mean, look, I'm no rocket science when it comes to intelligence and counterintelligence, but this is classical infiltration going on, and it's coming from a law enforcement perspective. I mean, this is amazing.
Well, it is, and the infiltration was fully embraced by officials here in Pennsylvania in our state government that were appointed and hired by our governor's administration. Our governor has been known to say one thing and then do another, and the man has been caught in one lie after another while he's been in office. He'd come out and it was reported that Rendell had terminated the contract, saying it violated citizens' rights for lawful constitutional protests. That was reported that he'd terminated the contract, and then more information comes out. No, the contract really hadn't been terminated. They just weren't going to renew at the end of October, and this company was being paid the full amount of money that they were initially contracted for, even after turning out all of this bogus information and listing law-abiding citizens who were actually protesting and maybe not allowed in other parts of the world to do what we've been doing, but fully under our, the God-given rights that are affirmed in our Constitution, that we have a right to do what these folks were doing, and then being listed as being potential terrorist threats.
And to be clear, we're talking to State Representative Daryl Metcalfe of Pennsylvania. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but reading these reports, only a fraction of their activities has been leaked. And so we better believe if one state representative and mainline Second Amendment groups and mainline Tea Party, folks that want a balanced budget are being spied on and listed as potential terrorists and threats to infrastructure, this is going to be a lot more widespread.
Well, that's exactly right. I think, we've just seen the tip of the iceberg, as that old cliche goes. But this, I think every American has to really see a red flag go up when they hear this type of activity taken by an administration, be it Pennsylvania or the Rendell's administration in the Pennsylvania government or the Obama administration at the federal level. That when you're going to start having taxpayer resources, taxpayer-paid public servants spying, surveilling, looking into the activities of law-abiding citizens. There's enough criminals on the streets that they should be utilizing every resource we have to go after those, MS-13 gangs and the drug cartels and the gangs that are committing violent acts against our citizens daily in every city in this country, that they turn around and use those resources, those limited resources, to target law-abiding citizens in the process of violating our rights. I mean, it just really reeks of that tyrannical type of oppression, that tyrannical type of intimidation that you had mentioned from Eastern European countries before the Cold War came to an end. So but
even in Eastern European countries, if foreigners were brought in to be the secret police,
right,
no one would put up with this. And I've seen in press reports dealing with the Total Information Awareness Network and a lot of this spying and data mining, it is foreign companies that are running it and doing it. And that came out in the FEMA NLE-09 drills that intelligence agencies from 14 countries were helping run drills against, quote, domestic terrorists, and then you find out that domestic terrorists are people that say, hey, my taxes are too high, or hey, you're not getting my guns, or hey, I don't want government-run health care, or hey, I don't agree with the FCC diversity czar praising censorship like Hugo Chavez does. I mean, I think we need to really recognize that the government's having to contract with foreign groups because what they're doing is criminal, and they've got to keep this covered up. I mean, you can't get much worse than foreign military-connected groups spying on citizens, and then they look at you like you got 3 heads because you're demanding to find out the full extent. How do we find out exactly how bad this really was?
That's exactly right. I think the individuals involved in this and some of the things that you just listed, whether it's Ed Rendell and Obama's disdain and total disrespect for the constitutional rights of law-abiding American citizens to actually execute the right to bear arms, their right to free speech. I mean, these people are globalists in their thinking. I mean, they look at themselves as world citizens, not American citizens.
They're authoritarian tyrants.
Well, and they embrace these socialist leftist policies of the Eastern Bloc nations that when I was in the military we were prepared to go to war against during the Cold War. The Warsaw Pact nations. I mean, that type of tyrannical governance is what these types of people. Ed Rendell, I mean, his wife, I wrote an article on his wife, being interviewed. She's a federal judge, talking about having a benevolent dictator would be a good thing because then we could get some of these health care issues and gun control
we've heard this from hundreds of Obama supporters.
Right.
I mean, Woody Allen. I mean, the list goes on and on. They're just constantly saying we need a dictator.
Well, that's where they come from, and that's why they're not slow to embrace hiring somebody like this Israeli-connected company that was working with our State Department here to surveil and issue these types of reports to spy on American citizens, law-abiding citizens. I think our activities here now, as far as trying to push for an answer, is to continue to press now the PEMA secretary, who's still in place, that hasn't resigned yet, and it sounds like he was, joined at the hip with the...
I'll tell you what, stay there, sir, a little bit longer. We appreciate your time. We'll give out the websites on the other side about where this investigation's going, how my listeners and others, especially in Pennsylvania, can really get a true investigation going to break open this barrel of snakes. We'll be right back.